What separates a wounded person from a predator? We often make the mistake of visualizing these minds as beings driven by primal, uncontrolled impulses. But today, we will analyze someone who breaks that mold entirely. A man of imposing presence, refined manners, and an IQ of 145. This superior intelligence was not used for progress, but to build a mask of sanity so perfect that it deceived psychiatrists and authorities for years. Where today we will perform a psychological autopsy of Edmund Kemper to decipher what happens when the most brilliant logic is placed at the service of absolute shadow. To understand this phenomenon, we must look at the child who was emotionally invalidated. In developmental psychology, attachment trauma is a fracture in the most basic human bond. Edmund grew up under a maternal figure who forced him to sleep in a dark basement and verbally humiliated him, treating him as a potential danger long before he even understood his own nature. To survive this environment, his brain activated depersonalization. He shut down his ability to feel so that his mother's attacks wouldn't hurt him, but this generated a macabre curiosity. At an early age, that disconnection led him to perform his first biological inspections with family pets. He wasn't seeking to cause pain for pleasure, but rather examining the bodies as if they were objects, trying to find where the spark of life that he felt he had lost. This coldness evolved into what we call primary psychopathy. When Edmund began his darkest stage, his acts were not impulsive, they were ceremonies of absolute control. When intercepting his victims, his goal was not simply physical elimination, but the profanation of identity. He sought to possess what he could never have, a human connection, even if it was through the disarticulation of life. He took the remains to his private environment to perform rituals of possession that defy logic, treating the bodies as inert trophies with which he could finally interact without fear of rejection. This need to preserve parts of his victims was a pathological attempt to fill his own existential void through the physical integration of others into his reality. Scientifically, this behavior is explained by a disconnection between the prefrontal cortex and the amygdala. Kemper had the engine of a genius but lacked moral brakes. He utilized compartmentalization to lead an astonishing double life. He could spend the afternoon eliminating evidence of an atrocious transgression and an hour later be sitting in a bar sharing conversations with homicide detectives. The officers nicknamed him Big Ed and considered him a friend, never suspecting that the man listening to their theories about the crimes was the architect of them. For him, this closeness to authority was not a risk, but a validation of his superiority. He enjoyed the irony of being hidden in plain sight. The culmination of his pathology arrived when he decided to close the cycle with the origin of his trauma. His final act in the family home was not an outburst, but a symbolic execution of his past. By eliminating his mother and performing acts of profanation with her remains, Edmund was trying to finally silence the voice that had tormented him for decades. It was an attempt to achieve peace that his brain, damaged by trauma, could only conceive through the definitive annulment of the other. This story is a tool for protection. The most critical red flag is affective flattening. Kemper was a master of the simulation of sanity, capable of confessing his acts with a calmness that was more terrifying than the fact itself. If you detect someone whose logic is impeccable, but whose gaze lacks warmth in the face of tragedy, listen to your gut. That sense of unreality is your system detecting that there is no real human connection. True empathy cannot be faked forever. Understanding this architecture of the void reminds us that intelligence without conscience is the most dangerous force. Humanity is defined by our ability to feel the echo of the other within ourselves. Self-knowledge is our only true defense.
Do you believe that a mind so brilliant is capable of choosing the path of light after such a trauma? Or do biology and environment dictate an inevitable destiny? I'll be reading you in the comments. Subscribe to keep exploring the abysses of the mind and to master your own destiny. I'll see you in the next analysis.